Hey everyone, welcome back to Corporate Decoder, the place where we dig into the dry world of SEC filing so you don't have to. Today we're cracking open a report to see if a company named AlphaVest's is really building robots, or if this whole thing is about to self-destruct. I'm already setting my expectations low for their video game division, but hey, their financials look pretty interesting. Before we start, if you appreciate getting straight insights from corporate documents, make sure you're subscribed. We also have a Discord community linked in the description below for even more discussion on market movers. First off, this document is a registration statement, basically a formal announcement from AlphaVest's Accession Corp, hoping to issue more stock, subject to approval from the Securities and Exchange Commission. The goal, a business combination with AMC Corporation, like merging two companies. This is not the first time they've amended this filing. We're at amendment number 5. That means that there has already been some issues and changes in the filing. AlphaVest is a blank check company. The goal with such a company is to find another business to merge with. A lot of times when you see this blank check, you want to be wary, but let's see what happens with AlphaVest. AlphaVest is planning something called domestication, which means they are switching their entity from the Caribbean to Delaware. People like Delaware because the corporate laws are well known and a lot of case law examples for potential issues. AlphaVest is currently located in the Cayman Islands. Following the business combinations, it will be AMC Robotics Corporation. It's important to follow the flow of money in these kind of documents, and there is an sponsor, AlphaVest Holding LP. The company is located at 2005 W 37 Centi NY. The agent for service is Yong David Yan. The phone number for both is 2003 998 5540. Scroll Michael Ken TJ Blankenship Scroll. Copies go to attorneys Michael Blankenship and Jeffrey Gallant. Approximate date that they want to sell this to the public as soon as possible. 2 scroll non-accelerated, 2 filler, a non-accelerated filler, smaller reporting company, and emerging growth company. So pretty much all the boxes checked for a small business with not a lot of history that wants to grow. So AlphaVest plans to change from being in the Cayman Islands to being in Delaware, also to rename themselves to AMC Robotics Corporation. That pretty much summarizes the changes and intentions declared on page 1. Scroll, top with some scroll. We can tell that there is going to be another company involved, AMC Corporation, which is going to have 7 directors on the board after everything is combined. So a lot of this filing is to understand AMC Robotics. Scroll to 3,387,905 CAF shares of common stock. Scroll. Now they are issuing shares of common stock. The board has approved the deregistration from the Cayman Islands and agreed to combine with AMC Corporation. So ACM will become a wholly owned subsidiary of SPAC. AMC says that they, by contrast, creates and distributes innovative and smart security products and related solutions. The SPAC shareholders will get to consider a vote to approve of this agreement, Crover 12 of the Yes Companies Act. As revised scroll, they are shifting from Cayman Island law to Delaware General Corporation law. Scroll 8,000 shares of surviving Pubco to common stocks. So if this deal goes through, AMC will get 18 million shares of the new company. Here's a red flag. AMC has entered into a small agreement with another company that is related, Kami. They want to raise a minimum of an additional $8 million in addition to the Kami deal. The sponsor for AlphaVest and some officers agree not to sell or distribute any shares of surviving Pubco during a lockup period. Usually a lockup is to help make a more stable start in public markets and not have large holders quickly dump stock. Also, there is going to be a more stable start in public markets and not have large holders quickly dump stock. Also, there is going to be a rejection rights agreement, which means surviving Pubco will have to file so some of the big holders can start selling stock. It's very important to know if there is some kind of conflict of interest with officers and directors, and they include such things in these reports. Scroll. NASDAQ under the proposed symbol AMCI. Scroll. They want to be on the NASDAQ under AMCI. Since Space has a small amount of funding, much of the funding to get it going has been promissory notes, meaning it must be paid back. The first one to the sponsor for $150K matured after the IPO. There was also another promissory note to the sponsor, eventually going all the way up to $715K before the sponsor got more extensions. Scroll on to May 2, 2024. SPAC issued a non-interest bearing promissory note to AMC Scroll. This one is really interesting because now they are borrowing money from AMC as SPAC for $440,000. That's a little interesting. It would make sense that AMC benefits if this merger goes through since they're becoming public. Scroll on May 2, 2024. SPAC issued a second non-interest bearing promissory note to AMC Scroll SIB. There are so many promissory notes to the other company AMC. It's like AMC is bankrolling for a merger with themselves. Here's a third one. Scroll, as of March 31, 25, $350,000 was outstanding on such note. Scroll in total if you really wanted to dig through all the details. Just know that as of March 31, 2025, Cavida was about 900k plus in promissory notes. Scroll Newt, redemption. Now we are getting to the projections pro forma ownership. Let me break down their best case scenario versus their worst case. If everything goes perfectly with no redemptions, public shareholders, unrelated, make up roughly 9%. But this all changes if there is a maximum extraction of cash. This is going to cause major dilution in those numbers. The sponsors will still own roughly the same percentage. But the original public shareholders drop big since this report accounts for the share conversion as well. It will then be 3% from. Look for shareholders of AMC. Insiders already will have a lot of control. Also note, the company hasn't successfully gotten funding. Here comes the real bomb though. Scroll since the sponsor Tevenai. Paid $25,000 for the SPAC founder share. Scroll. The sponsor only paid $25k for the shares they will retain at the close. Basically, $1 all on 4 per share. They get a massive return potential. So the sponsor will make a positive rate of return if trading price is very low. As little as 1 cent compared to public shareholders who need it to be over $10. So the SPAC price is very low. As little as 1 cent compared to public shareholders who need it to be over $10. Scroll. Minimum of an additional $8 million cuts in the financing. Scroll. In June 2025, AMC, not AlphaVest, entered an agreement where a single company will purchase shares for $5 million. This is a private transaction for shares being acquired in full. There are no obligations for this financing being sought by the company and SPAC. Currently, there are no commitments for the additional 4.8M of financing being sought by the company and SPAC. Currently, there are no commitments for the additional 0.8M of financing being sought by the company and SPAC. Currently, there are no commitments for the additional 4.8M of financing being sought by the company and SPAC. Currently, and of financing being sought by the company and SPAC. That is not great. They are of financing being sought by the company and SPAC. That is not great. They are trying to get it, but no big investors have agreed to it. So that's potentially not going to happen, and there's high chances of redemptions. Also, entities controlled by the chairman Sheng Wei and Da, who also found AMC, will have the ability to determine all matters requiring approval by the stockholders. So here's that 70-90% person again. Scroll left. Termination of the business combination agreement became effective as of March 18, 2024. Time scroll collects the there was a previous business combination that failed, which also is never a great indication. Scroll outstanding SPAC call rights will convert into 40,290 shares of surviving Pubco common stock. Scroll. You can see the dilution that it would imply due to the SPAC rights converting into shares. If AMC were to be seen as a China-based issuer and subject to that oversight, it could have a big bad impact. You can start to see the picture we've been painting. This is the same as many other companies with heavy leverage for insiders if things all fail. The group getting 55% of what remains while paying very little and getting all the control is a bit of a scary situation. I'm obligated to show that they received a fairness opinion, but it was from July or August 2024. There have been many issues since then, and the valuation is very outdated. It seems very cease. In addition, it's a fairness to who? The firm. It's not exactly for the investor, even though that is written on the filing. So to sum this up, the actual financials of AlphaVest are very bad overall, but here are a couple of the most important pro forma numbers, because this is future thinking speculation and not real financial advice pad. As of March 31, 2025, the company has 16.3 million in net tangible assets. The total combined shares outstanding at 22 million, which shows the share decrease with all of the expenses factored in from December 2023. That is no guarantees and lots of assumptions. Keep an eye on the risk analysis below. SPAC shareholders need to read and vote in this meeting. Keep in mind the large interest in play depending on the number of redemptions. Be an active owner and voice your ikions and concerns. Now, let's put this all into perspective. So, overall, here's my take on it. This particular filing seems very standard for a reverse merger of SPAC with an existing operating company. The company has taken on debt and the original projections were not correct. Keep in mind the report is forward-looking. It's a common setup. Insiders get massive leverage despite owning a bunch of the company. Whether or not AlphaVest is a good company comes down to you as a shareholder. There is some serious dilution on display in this. This might be an interesting company for certain people. Just don't come running and crying to me if robots never get delivered to your doorstep. Alright, that's our breakdown of this filing. What's your take on these numbers and what they signal for the company's future? Drop your thoughts in the comments. If this analysis was valuable, hitting that like button really helps, and subscribe for more deep dives. Don't forget to check out the Discord in the description. Thanks for watching. See you next time and read these filings carefully.